Asheron's Call, the Empyreans were once the uncontested rulers of Oberion, the planet where the game is set. Among the Empyreans, there were several great nations, the Geraine, Hebris, Dericost, and Flaticot. However, Empyrean dominance began to crumble when the Ulthoi arrived on Oberion, launching a worldwide conquest that would ultimately overthrow the seafaring Geraine Empire. Despite their immense power and longevity, the Empyreans were plagued by internal competition among their major factions. This struggle for supremacy drove them to explore ways of extending their natural lives, leading to the discovery of the necromantic art of undeath. Welcome to the Abyss, folks. My name is Void Money, and today we're going to discuss the king of the Dericostian Ice Throne, Geraine IV. Although the undead chapter of the Empyreans began long before his time, Geraine IV stands as one of the most pivotal figures in Oberion's quest for immortality, second perhaps only to Asheron himself. Geraine IV was, unsurprisingly, the son of Geraine III. As a child, he was notably weak and sickly, traits that made him an ideal candidate for the immortality-granting blood rituals practiced by the Flaticot. Seizing an opportunity to secure his son's future, Geraine III accepted an offer from the Flaticot that he simply couldn't refuse. Concerned about his son's frail condition and the future of his bloodline, Geraine III struck a deal with a group of Flaticot witches. In exchange for granting his son immortality, he offered them a home on Erith Lassel, the island now known as Dareth. In time, Geraine IV inherited the Ice Throne, the Dericostian seat of power, from his father. As Emperor of Dericost, he adopted the title, his eternal splendor, and performed the same blood ritual that granted him immortality on many of his noble followers. However, his attempts often failed, resulting in the creation of the decayed, withered undead that now haunt Dareth. Yet there were rare successes, most notably Lady Aerifal, a perfectly preserved undead who remains a powerful and loyal follower to this day. Geraine IV maintained his grip on power over the Dericost Empire through a secretive organization known as Filanuvetka, which translates to Winds from Darkness in the Flaticot language. This group operated under the philosophy that the true leaders of Dericost would rule from the shadows. Their control was carried out in secrecy, aided by loyal undead generals who commanded the empire at Geraine IV's behest. As you might have expected, the generals eventually came to a simple conclusion. If they were already controlling the empire in the light, while the true rulers operated in the dark, why not seize power for themselves? And that's exactly what they did. The generals formed a rival organization called Latzimestal, meaning Lords of the World. So much for subtlety, right? As such, the Latzimestal, under the leadership of Servien II, seized the Ice Throne in proclaiming to the Dericostians that a secret group of undead ruled the nation, and he was the king of that group. In so doing, he supplanted the Dericostian royalty and became the final ruler of the great Dericostian Empire. With the Latzimestal in control of the kingdom, Filanuvecta secretly kept the rightful heir to the Ice Throne hidden. Meanwhile, the generals of Dericost expanded their empire, conquering lands across Oberion. This rapid growth didn't sit well with the rival empires of Geraine and Hebris. Before long, the two allied forces came together, determined to stop the Dericostians and seize hegemony over Oberion for themselves. Despite everything, the undead Dericostian kingdom endures in the shadows to this day, with Geraine IV having retaken the Ice Throne. Even more remarkably, they remain one of the few Empyrean factions with both power and presence in Oberion, surviving the chaos of the Ulthoi Swarm. The Town Portal Network painting for Undead sums these events up pretty well. Undead are the result of blood magic where one person is sacrificed in order to grant another eternal life. The undead we encounter are, for the most part, the remnants of the Empyrean kingdom of Dericost. Long ago, the noble families of the Dericost kingdom learned necromancy from the Flaticot people. For thousands of years, undead nobles of Dericost ruled the kingdom in secret through living intermediaries. Eventually, the Dericostian nobles, collectively called the Old Lords, were divided into two warring factions, the Latzimestal, Lords of the World in the language of the Flaticot, and the Filanuvecta, Winds from Darkness. The Latzimestal declared that ruling in secret was cowardly and hypocritical. The undead had power. Let them rule openly. So saying, they seized the realm from the Velinu Vecta and launched an aggressive campaign of military expansion. They were ultimately defeated by a coalition led by the Kingdom of Hebris under King Jaelna and the Empire of Yelain under Empress Aladane. But not all of the undead were destroyed. Many of the old lords fled to Dareth. Now they struggle to survive and are plotting to rebuild their power yet again. As an aside, I can't help but feel like there might have been a planned story arc with Geraine IV as a final big bad. All of the pieces are there, the only thing missing is the final act. We'll come back to that later. To truly understand the origins of the undead, we need to go back to the very beginning, back to the Falaticot. The Falaticot once ruled Oberion from their powerful empire in the traditional eastern lands of the Empyreans. Over time, they were ousted by the Yelain and Hebris, but most of all by the Dericostians, led by Servien II, who sought to erase them from the face of Oberion. Eventually, the Falaticot were driven from their ancient homeland and found refuge on the island of Kiliakta, what we know as Dareth in the Falaticot language. It was there that they uncovered a primeval power of creation. Not exactly a surprising twist, right? As you might expect, Kiliakta, or Dareth, was teeming with mystical properties that made it ideal for magical experimentation, including a higher concentration of intrinsic mana. The Falaticot quickly harnessed these properties, developing geomancy to shape the land. But with blood magic, well, you can guess where this is headed. They focused their efforts on unlocking the secrets of immortality, secrets which they would eventually hand over to the Dericost. In the present day, Geraine IV's influence is felt through his vassals, Lord Rytherin and Lady Erifal, as well as the Eldritch Web, a society faction which the two of them lead. Through them, and with the power of his undead army, Geraine IV played a crucial role in aiding the Asparians to repel the return of the ancient Ulthoi Queen from Dareth. As mentioned earlier, I suspect Geraine IV was the subject to serve as a potential big bad down the road, and I believe a lot of this is on the plot of his obsession over the Book of Ebel. Book of Abel? Whatever. The Book of Abel was, in short, a collection of blood magic tomes said to have been passed down from the powerful and mysterious Old Ones to the Falaticot. Geraine IV's obsession with the book began after the fall of Servien II, the usurper king of the Dericost Empire. Servien had led the Dericostians to their greatest heights, only for them to eventually fall to the combined forces of the Yelain and Hebris. At Geraine IV's command, Lord Rytherin delivered the Book of Abel to him. Geraine used its dark power to destroy House Moir, a noble family of Dericostian descent who had refused to embrace undead immortality. After House Moir was completely wiped out, a group of undead loyalists known as the Archons used the book to experiment on the Madacar, aiming to turn them into powerful servants for Geraine. Though they failed to make the Madacar servile, the experiments succeeded in transforming them into formidable humanoids called Gurog. Even more sinister, Geraine IV used the Book of Abel to manipulate portal space, making contact with the apostate Verendi in order to do this. His ultimate goal was to use the portals to reach into the future and alter its course, thus crushing any hopes the Asparians had of achieving and maintaining a golden age in future Dareth. It seems he might have succeeded in this dark endeavor, as evidenced by the destruction of Dareth and the Asparian kingdoms before the events of Asheron's Call 2. Additionally, there's a story arc in AC2, where the Archons, in a desperate bid for power, steal the Book of Abel. However, they were ultimately killed by Geraine after the book took possession of them. The event culminates with Geraine IV killing the physical manifestation of the Book of Abel and proclaiming that he will only ever write his own book from now on. Whatever route Geraine intended to go down with the overarching storyline was, however, never expanded on further in either game, so one can only speculate what they had intended. I like to imagine a connected story arc that would have brought Geraine through space and time between the two games. Who knows, maybe there was even a redemption arc planned, where Geraine would join the forces of good after destroying the Asparian Golden Age. Or, more likely, he could have set up as the next major event enemy. Whatever the case, we've reached the end of our video. I'd like to thank you for watching the video if you made it this far. This video was a long time in the making, and if it came off as a little clumsy, I apologize for that. I originally started with a different intention for this video, and ended up reworking the script as I wasn't interested in that original topic after all. Nevertheless, and once again, thank you so much for being here. As always, have fun and stay safe, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye bye!